Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. There it is. I hit record and we are cranking. I am so excited to talk to the guest today. She is a freaking rock star. She's an adventurer, an explorer. She jumps off of tall things with parachutes on. She is wild. She's crazy. A keynote speaker, an author, a serial entrepreneur, and a marketer at heart. And really her mission is to help companies repurpose what they're already doing into content, but also content that gets consumed. And we're going to talk all about that today. And I can't wait to get to that. Author of a best-selling book, actually, Guilt-Free Motherhood, and the founder of Repurpose Den. Amber Khan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for that smashing intro.
Yes. Well, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, there is. Can't wait. I'm too excited.
Too excited, right? And what time is it there for you right now?
It's almost 3 p.m.
Oh, okay. Not so bad. So it wasn't like I got you at like 9 p.m. or something.
No. We're good.
Like late night coffee. Okay. Well, the show, we want to talk content. We want to talk, you founded the Den of repurposing. Like, that's crazy talk. So we're going to talk about that. And we also want to talk about skydiving. So let me pass you this. It's kind of heavy for me, but that's because I'm weak. Here you go. Okay. Thor's hammer. Take that. You got it? Grab it.
Got it.
Okay. There you go. So you got Thor's hammer. Take Thor's hammer. Smash for me some kind of myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Just set the record straight once and for all.
For sure. I mean, I love to talk about this. And this is basically, we've heard a lot of people talk about, a lot of gurus in the online world in the past 5 years talk about content is king, content is king. Content is king, but we all know there is plenty of content already out there. In fact, the studies show that almost 70 to 80% of B2B content created goes to waste. That's like about, I don't know, $18 million. The last I saw, 180 million, I don't know, some big, huge number of loss down the drain. And what I believe is that, yes, of course, to get your message across, you have to create content, but really what really matters is that you have to now promote that content. So in my opinion, content promotion or creating a content experience is king, rather than just creating content and nobody's ever able to find out where that content lives. I mean, there's so many people I talk to who have got so much content sitting in the archives somewhere, in their blog archives, podcast archives, or YouTube channels, or whatever, and they just haven't made the most out of it by making sure that people are able to find that content and make use of it for the reason that they created it. Right.
It's wasted. It's in the dungeon, right? The resource dungeon on some obscure website. No one, it's so terrible to think about all that content just being wasted, because it didn't take someone an hour to write that. They probably wrote their brains off or recorded, or all the work that goes into it. And to your point, you mentioned like the millions of dollars. I can only imagine. It's got to be even a bigger number. It's probably at this point $1 billion
probably
worth of wasted content just sitting there. Why does this happen? Is it all bad? Is it bad content?
No, I don't think. I mean, I think, a majority of people put a lot of effort in creating that content. So a lot of blood, sweat, and tears go into creating that content. It's just that either they do not, sometimes they do not realize that people just by writing a good piece of content, it will be found. It doesn't work like that. And secondly, sometimes it is that they do not have the budget to promote it, because they've now used all the budget in creating all that content, and now they have very little left to promote it. Currently, I think the last statistics I read was that 80% of marketing budgets was spent on creating content and 20% in promotion. And whereas I think it should be the other way around. create 20% of content and then spend 80% on promoting it or creating a content experience so that people are able to find that amazing content that you have created. But of course, it needs work. It needs time put into it. And for big organizations, it means hiring more people. So, I mean, there's several reasons why it doesn't happen, but mostly it is because the budget isn't spent in right way, basically in the right direction.
Yeah, makes total sense. I'm like writing down furiously over here. Lots of great takeaways right off the bat. It's like we've just drank a Red Bull and jumped off a cliff together. You might talk me into it. So, yeah, 80%, that whole 80-20 thing. Most people are focusing in the budget too. I hadn't even thought about that. The budget on content creation. And then when you mentioned 20% on promotion, I thought, if that, I don't think
If
people
that,
even think about budgeting money for promotion when they're creating content. Like, okay, well, let's hire. A friend of mine just hired a content agency. It didn't work out well. They weren't a good one. And it's like none of the thought process went into what are you going to do with that content. So yeah, it's like people they think that they can spend dollars on the creation and then they're neglecting to think about the promotion. I love the idea. I even wrote these two arrows that are like crisscrossing. What if for a quarter or a year or something, a week, you flip the priorities, make one piece of content 80% on promotion, 80% of your budget on promotion, which means maybe you could write your one thing internally and then spend that whole budget you were going to do on creating it external, like promoting the hell out of it. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, because, you know, if you're going to put so much time and effort into creating an amazing piece, do not assume, especially in the world that we're living in now, where it's like we're bombarded with information and content, you know, left, right, and center. People are just not going to find out. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't matter how awesome a piece it is. People are just not going to find it unless you are, you know, Apple, Google, or Facebook. You're, you know, they're not going to find it until you tell people or show people that, you know, here, this is where your content exists and this is the reason why you should consume it. So yeah, I think that's where people, you know, miss out on.
Tell me about the repurposing thing, because I know you founded a Repurpose Den. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds cool. It sounds like slightly evil and slightly really cool. Tell me about the concept of repurposing. Does that tie into content?
Definitely. So basically, content repurposing is about when you create this awesome piece of content. Now, do not let it go to waste by hoping that somebody will find it, or by you sharing a post on social media. Hey, my new podcast episode is out, or hey, check out my new blog post. Because we all know, you know, these posts disappear within minutes and hours on social media platforms.
Yeah.
On Twitter, it's like, I don't know, 8 minutes, 8 seconds, something like that.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone before you even sent it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's disappeared into the ether. You know, nobody's even gonna know. Nobody's even gonna know that you just published a new blog post. So the whole idea of repurposing content is that we now need to promote that amazing piece of content you've created, right? So by promotion, I mean that you now need to create an experience on social media for people to now come and consume your content. And that's where repurposing comes in. We take your long piece of content and create experiential content out of it, which becomes sort of your a starter of brand awareness on social media platforms. So you can repurpose that content into short form videos. You can take quotations out of it. You can take tweets out of it. The whole idea is that this is, obviously we're talking about the early stage cold audience we're trying to target, trying to expand our reach. We create brand awareness content, right? So repurposing at that point in customer cycle is used for brand awareness. Of course, you can repurpose content for the entire buyer cycle, right? Wow. So for example, somebody who is already aware of your brand, maybe sharing a repurposed case study of your business is the right piece of content to share with them, right? Because they don't need to know about your short videos or tweet you're talking about. They're already aware of your business. They need to know something more. So you can repurpose content for each phase in your buyer's cycle,
Mm-hmm.
even post client, once they become your client. Now, what kind of content you can share with them? Often you're already sitting on a content. You don't have to produce new type of content. You just repurpose from your original content something that has worked, for example, a previous client, and now that's something you think that maybe the other clients can benefit from as well. That's a piece of content you can now share with your existing clients. So basically, a content which can be repurposed for the entire buyer cycle is the philosophy behind repurposing content.
Got it. So we're spending
Mhm.
less time. Again, back to that 20%
Yeah,
now we're spending on content
yeah,
creation. I think a lot of time gets taken up in the creation side, doing the research,
yeah,
right? Doing the hard part of like gathering what the actual right thing to do is, getting the experts time, or researching. Like there's so much prep that goes into these articles. You actually go to write it, maybe it took you a little bit of time, maybe a little time to proofread or grammar, or maybe a little bit of production time, but really the hard work is always getting the information. So
yeah,
this makes total
absolutely.
sense. Instead of like starting from scratch every time,
Yeah,
the content you created, if it's good, it's good. Like
yeah,
people still need to hear that. Just because it's already gone past them on Twitter, they still need to hear different versions of that. And maybe some people like written words, and some people like video, and some people like
yeah,
audio. So to your point, that one little gem you might have can turn into, I don't know, like what, 9 other things at least?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or we can turn it into 30 pieces of content, but
Yeah.
there you go. It's yeah, one piece of content easily into 30 pieces of content.
Okay. Can we
But
play a
of
game?
course, yeah, sure.
Okay. So, can we start with a blog post? Blog post?
Yeah.
No, maybe it's an interview, podcast interview. I don't know. Pick your initial content, whatever kind of initial content you want, and then let's try to
Let's say
ramble off.
video interview. It's a
Video
video interview.
interview. Okay.
Yeah.
Video interview, and then maybe, and I won't try to write them all down because that'll hold you up. Maybe you could just sort of like rattle off as many, and I'll try to keep track, as many
Yeah.
different ways you can repurpose that video interview. And you don't have to rush.
Sure.
It's not timed, so you can take
Okay.
your time.
Well, I like to start off with video, or I tell clients that if it's something that they're comfortable with being on video, then start
Yep.
off with video. So, with
Start there.
video long pillar content, first thing you can do is obviously extract audio from it. So now
Yes.
you've got a video interview, and now you've got a audio as well, which you can then share it as a podcast on audio channels. Video can go on YouTube. Then you can create short video clips for social media, because as you know, on social media, nobody goes on to watch a 60-minute video, right?
Right.
In fact, research is done to show that the videos or the content which gets consumed most is under 2-minute video clips for most of the social media platforms.
Got it.
Different for YouTube, because that's a long form content channel.
Right.
But so short form video clips, now video clips in different formats as well. So you first convert it into a square video, which is utilized for Facebook platforms, LinkedIn as well, can work for Instagram as well. Then you create the same piece of content in a wide format, which works for, again, Twitter or YouTube. It's great for SEO to keep putting all those short clips on YouTube as well, even if you've got your long form video content on YouTube.
Okay.
Then, of course, the Instagram version, the vertical version, which is amazing for Facebook stories and Instagram stories, which, as we know, are booming right now. They're doing way better than before.
Yeah.
Instagram stories are doing better than Instagram posts. Then you can do an IGTV video. So as we know, Instagram stories are only 60-second long, so 1 minute. So you create a 1-minute piece for the Instagram story, and then a longer 5 to 10-minute clip for IGTV.
Okay.
Right? And then, of course, you can take several quotes out of your content. So if it's an interview, you'll probably get a lot of,
Totally.
gems from it. It could be your own or guest quotes. So God knows, several, quotes can come out of it. Again, those quotes can be formatted and should be formatted into square, vertical, and wide formats for different channels, because you don't just share this, like on Instagram stories, you can't share wide or square. It just would look odd. It just doesn't
Right. You got to
sit right.
format it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we've done video and audio memes, quotes. Now, from this is what I love doing, and majority of people don't do it because it takes a lot of work. Is that this now long piece of video or interview can turn into a blog post as well. Now, I do not mean like like a direct transcription of the video,
Right.
but it does help because you've got the transcription. All it needs a little bit of editing by the content creator, you
Okay.
know, and it can turn into a long form blog post, and then you can embed the video that you recorded
Yep.
within your blog post as well, because that's again
Oh,
very good for SEO.
yeah.
YouTube loves it when you embed that video, when you have uploaded that video on YouTube, then embed it on your website. YouTube loves that juice, SEO juice. And so again, this is long form content. Now you can create a short form blog post as well, where you can write a summarized version of that.
Sure.
Again, you can embed a video and then direct people, if you want to read the longer version of it,
Yeah.
link it to the longer version. Or if you prefer watching it in video format, link it to your YouTube channel,
Sure.
where they can watch the full video. So blog posts, from one video, we can take out audio, video, blogs, text, all versions out of it, basically.
Yep.
And then what I often like to do is create, take the content, which, long piece of content, and take content, summarized content or valuable educational informational content out of it that can be used as part of a newsletter or email follow-up series, right? So
Yes.
newsletters, as we know, do not have to be very long these days. People like
No.
to consume short form content. So a lot of information can come out of that, which can form part of your weekly newsletter
Mhm.
that you send out, or daily email follow-up series. Lot of content can come out of that, because it helps. You don't have to now start from scratch to think about, okay, what should I say in my email today or
Yeah.
tomorrow? Because you've already got a lot of information. It's just about putting it together
Wow.
in the right context. You don't have to start from scratch, basically. And
Jeez.
of course, link it to your different assets that you have now created, be it
Right.
short form clips, or maybe a full podcast episode, or newsletter. You can always link it back to other forms of content. So basically, you're directing people to cross channel, right, from one place
Mhm.
to another, to consume different types. It's the same content in different formats, because whatever format they prefer to consume that content. Some prefer to read, some prefer to watch, some prefer to listen to content.
Wow.
So you're creating those channels for them. Stories we talked about, emails, follow-up newsletters. Oh yes. So oftentimes, what I talk about, it depends on the interview structure.
Sure.
Sometimes hosts ask or they add a segment to the interview, which can then be repurposed as a separate segment for just their subscribers, for example.
Ooh.
So it could be, for example, everybody can watch this episode that you have recorded, right? But for those who become your subscribers, or maybe leave you a rating or something, you have a special for them. That's a special segment that you recorded, which could be a quick fire with the guest. Could be anything. And the subscribers get the extra bit, which is not available in the normal interview sort of recording.
I totally got to do that. That sounds great. Yeah.
It's good for for making people feel special. Like, everybody wants to feel special. If they do something, they become your subscriber, they want to feel special. Why should I do this? Right? I am special if I'm doing this. So so that works very well. Sometimes yes, a interview roundup. So if you've done few interviews, so much more content can come out of it. As you know, you can do an interview roundup of top 10 guests, or by category, or by subject, or by experience, and then use that again as a separate blog post, separate piece of a newsletter, email follow-up series, even a separate video clip which encompasses all those sort of clips from those 10 interviews.
Jeez.
So there's like so many ways where we can repurpose the same piece of content in the right context. It's not like just we're doing it for the sake of it.
Right.
It's creating that experience at each phase in the buyer cycle. If they've just become aware of it, maybe they'll read your post on LinkedIn, see your tweet, and then they move on from maybe becoming a subscriber, get a newsletter, check out your podcast, watch a video, and then so on and so forth, and eventually some case studies.
Wow, you weren't kidding. Any more? Any final? There's a lot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's so many more which I can't think of right now.
No worries. Wow, I would add a book to it. A lot of the inspiration from my book came from the podcast.
Yeah.
But that's me just adding one.
Audiobook as well.
What's that?
Audiobook as well. So
audiobook.
The written book, ebook format, and then the audiobook, which comes out of it as well. Yeah.
Jeez. So I kept count of all the different separate ways. And, I'd said 9. I believe you said 30, right?
Yeah.
And that sounded a little hard to get to. And that's why I'm glad. Thank you, by the way. If you want to drink water, because I know you just did. That was fantastic. That was amazing. Any guesses on what I got to, what I counted up to?
No.
It was about 39.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought book, but then you're like, but what kind of book? Audio book, Kindle, like digital book, digital download, and written book,
audiobook,
booklet, and
we haven't even covered online courses, because a lot, especially if you have really long form content in shape of a book, right? That gets converted into online courses all the time.
Really?
Yep, online courses. And then not only that, membership membership offer. So instead of doing an online course, you can also offer individual informational pieces, be it in video format or written format, and make them available as part of a membership. So like, for example, this is what our membership group is about. I don't know, it's $50 a month, and this is what you will get access to, because it's not something you have to now create on a daily basis. You've already got it. You're just repurposing it for your membership portal.
Right.
So, I mean, there's, so much more.
Wow. They got us up to 30, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 41. There's a lot of things you can do to repurpose.
Awesome.
I
haven't even talked about intro videos and promos and stuff.
So. So we got more. There's more.
So we've got more, but yeah.
But wait, there's more. So it's probably close to like 45 probably. So there is a lot. So in case anyone was skeptical of and to your point, there's so many things you can do with one piece of content. Don't go making 1,000 of them. One piece of content can turn one solid, and this was all based on a video interview, can be repurposed 41 plus times.
Yeah.
Do an interview and then repurpose it to Crazy Town,
Yeah, exactly. To Crazy Town, until you've squeezed all the juice out of it, and you're like, okay, now it's time to create another piece of content.
Right. And then make pie out of the rest. Exactly. That's amazing.
Exactly.
And that's just the content creation. And this is, would you consider this part of the 20% or part of the 80%, the repurposing?
No, so this is part of the 80%, because you already created that big original piece of content that you put. So now what we're doing is creating digital assets to promote that content, because we can't just say, okay, hey, check out my new episode. Right? How many times are you going to say that on social media, right? Hey, check out the new episode. Hey, check out the new episode.
Too many times.
Right? Right. So, but there are many other ways of saying the exact same thing. And that's what we do with repurposed content. We're trying to drive the traffic to our original piece of content by repurposing the same content into different formats and different experiences. So it doesn't seem like, we're sharing the same thing over and over again in our news feeds.
See, that makes total sense. I'm glad you went over that, because I was going to ask you about the idea of the experiences and the promotion of it, but this is the promotion of it. The
Yeah,
repurposing creates follow-on items and
yeah,
assets, but it also promotes it because
yeah,
these are videos on Instagram, or these are clips, or these are going in. You mentioned the email nurture campaigns. There's so much
yeah,
to do with that. You're right.
yeah,
That becomes a promotion in it. And every time you mention one, you also mention, like, you can point back to the original. You can point back to
yeah,
the source. Like, if you want the long form content, here's where it is. Go get it here, as opposed to having it just live by itself. So each one of these things strengthens the whole group. So
yeah,
if you might find it
absolutely.
from here, and you might go watch this clip, but then you might go get the long form. You might go get the book afterward. You might go get this. So it's almost like a network effect of the more times you repurpose that one piece of content, the stronger all of the assets become around it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, with that, your impact grows, your brand grows, and the
Yeah.
traffic also grows to your content or wherever you want them to go. And this is just organic promotion we're talking about. You can
Right.
use the same piece of the short video clips. This is what we do. So we use them as part of Facebook advertising campaign. So promoting our content. So for brand awareness, and if it's videos, it's easy. We just look for video views, and it's about sharing the same repurposed content that we've now created. We just put some money behind it, promote it over Facebook, and then of course you continue the buyer cycle from there. You can
Ah.
give them more or more specific content, those who view the first piece of content, and take them wherever you want them to go next.
Wow. So the promotional side of it, the paid side, we hadn't even discussed. That was all organic, what we were talking about
Yeah,
earlier. So you really get an infusion of more people and traffic and numbers into it
yeah,
by just promoting it on. We've talked to Alaric recently. He was the YouTube guy.
yeah,
YouTube ads, Facebook ads, all these different ads,
yeah.
to let people know there's maybe some content they should check out, and not necessarily gating the content and putting up walls in
Yeah.
front of it. Just give people this stuff. Let them learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So this is what you do? You repurpose content for people, or you help them
Yes.
sort these strategies out?
We,
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
We help them repurpose for whatever buyer cycle they're looking for, whichever phase in their buyer cycle they're looking for. Usually it's around the brand awareness because they're looking to create a bigger impact. They want to expand their reach, and they're sitting on a lot of content which can then be repurposed for social media platforms. So they can slowly start growing their brand and their impact and
Right.
their tribe.
Yeah, I see that. It makes sense that you can change the content approach and the different kinds of things you're doing to promote it depending on where people are in the sales cycle. You'd mentioned the different stages before, and now I think it all makes sense because now I know the
Hmm.
different types of content that could be offered, and
Yeah.
your early, mid, late stage buyer, and then they get what they need to get. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to be serving the same piece of content to person who is at a different stage in the customer cycle, in the
Right.
customer journey. But the whole idea is that you don't have to create content from scratch. If you already have enough content, a lot can happen from there. A lot can be
Yeah.
repurposed and then can be utilized for your entire customer journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of this concept too, and this podcasting is my favorite way of doing the
Mm.
long form interview. Um, and we get some juice out of this thing, but you just, I think we maybe do 6 things, but then, which is probably why I guessed like 6 or 9, and then your 30 is very impressive, and then it's like, wow, that's amazing. There's so much to do. There's so much that can be done
There's
from it.
so much to do. Yeah, yeah.
Man, maybe the next book comes from all this content getting repurposed too.
Definitely. And though I think those people who have already got a platform, like you've got a podcast, or you've
Sure.
already got a channel, some YouTube, certainly books should be coming out of it.
Yeah.
Because why not? You've already got that content. It could be a roundup of you've already interviewed a lot of guests with expertise in different areas. You could put it all together in some sort of context, which would be amazing for your own brand.
Yep.
And you don't have to put in too much effort into it because the content's already there. All you've got to do is probably get an editor to edit it in the right format for the book, and there
Right.
you go.
Yeah,
And books are great authority builders. People, they're just good authority builders. That's what it is. It's like your business card. It's your new business card.
it is, because they're hard and they're terrible to create.
True, true.
So if you've done it, then you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this person's done this thing. And I think people kind of get a sense that, oh, this is probably kind of hard. And we've both written books, and it's like, yeah, it's not nearly as glamorous, as fun as you'd think it would be. By the end, you usually hate the topic, and like, I don't want to look at these words ever again. But time settles it down. You're like, oh, I'm really happy with this. But yeah, it's a tough process. But it doesn't have to be so tough. You don't have to write from scratch.
Yeah.
If you're repurposing the heck out of everything.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
crazy.
And if you have the right process in place, it shouldn't be that difficult. Of course, when we're not writing a fiction novel, right? So that's a totally different,
right.
For nonfiction and business arena, there's, if you've already got some channel through which you reach to your audience, then you probably are sitting on a lot of content which can be repurposed into, a lot more many things, be it book or audiobook or anything else.
Yeah. People keep asking me to do an Audible book of my book. And you just figure out the right settings on the microphones and everything. Maybe give it a shot. I don't know though. Hearing me talk for 12 hours excitedly about my book, and then this happened. It's not fiction. So it's like, let me tell you about marketing automation.
Well, you never know. If people are asking for it, then it says something.
Well, I understand, because like me, I like listening to books.
Yeah.
So we all have our own thing that we like consuming, to your point. Repurpose and serve people what they want. Where does this go? Do you see anything coming around the bend in the future, as buyers change and as content, hopefully more people do what you're talking about, so they actually get useful content out there that's consumed, that number drops, so it's not 80% of content being wasted. Where does this go? Where do you see content going in the future?
I think I see it being more experiential. So as we see technology evolving more, and we see more AI and VR is still very, very augmented reality. I see a lot of augmented reality content coming, although it's been there in the ether for at least a good few years, but it still hasn't happened. I do believe in the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot more of augmented reality content. Again, it's just about we as technology evolves, our content has to evolve with it. And it's one of those things, if we have to embrace. If we don't, it's in social media world, it's pretty much like do or die kind of thing. It moves very fast. But the whole idea is that, if you already have a medium, even in future 5 years time, you can use the same content to produce a different experience, AR experience, a different experience, but it won't be like starting from scratch.
Exactly. Experience. I'm really excited about that kind of stuff. Do you want to hear a secret?
Yeah.
I'm going to do like a Twitch channel for marketing.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Have you been on it before? Like
I've watched people on it before, right? Yeah. But you have nobody on there doing marketing, because it's all about watching games and watching people crochet.
It's all about watching games, yeah.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't that be cool if all of these podcast interviews were on it? Like, just, I don't know, maybe nothing, but like it
stand out,
a different experience that might be kind of cool, So
what do you think you would be doing, like live automations for them as they watch you, or like?
Yeah, like I think we're recording this. It's not live, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Twitch is going on in the background. So
if
you wanted to see the podcast before that happens, while it's happening, or we do a lot of webinars, that's just another way of repurposing those and getting them in a different channel. I really like the idea that it gives you points and it's kind of fun and silly, and I don't know, something about it. It calls to me, like more engaging than webinar,
Definitely more engaging than webinar. But if you're up for it, you should definitely give it a go, because a lot of people don't start something because they're hesitant, right? But with you, that's not the case. You want to try it. You've picked out a channel that you think might be a very good idea, and you want to experiment with it. You should go for it.
Like because it's like bizarre, it makes no sense. But you know what? Maybe at like 11 o'clock at night, I'll play Minecraft just so everyone else is like, okay, good, he's back on games now.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I could see like doing part on and just I don't know. It just seems like one of those like intersections that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
should occur if it doesn't already.
Are there any business twitchers?
No, there aren't.
No, none. So they're all gamers.
Yeah, gamers, but also like people crocheting, artists
Oh, okay.
painting.
So art and craft as
Yeah, so
well.
not just games, but like or just people hanging out playing music, or
Okay.
some people are singing. People
Okay.
like if I start singing, then people need to block my channel. But no, but yeah, people just being themselves on camera, and one of my favorite things to do on there, because every now and then I'll like um, hop on there and I'll go and I'll find a channel with nobody watching.
Right.
Right, somebody's
Right.
on the broadcast,
Mm.
I'll go and I'll be like their one person, and I'll
Right.
say nice
Right.
things to them, encourage them.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
because but what's also interesting is there's people that have 1,000 people online watching them play Call of Duty, or
Hmm.
5,000, like a lot of people, and they somehow manage their tribe that way. And
Hmm.
people are coming, they're like, hey, cool bear 27, good to see you again,
Yeah.
grandma, and you're like, wow, they manage this crowd way better than your average B2B marketing
Yeah.
webinar
Yeah.
idiots. We all try, but it's like, welcome to our webinar. This is our
Yeah.
Q&A. And you're like, ugh, gross. But what if you did it
I,
like Twitch? That'd be
yeah. Yeah.
kind of
We could definitely be more fun, more entertaining, and more casual, because you're right. The webinars and they're just too formal
yeah,
in their structure, too
yeah,
formal, and of course it's very hard to then get people to interact when
right.
when it feels too businessy or corporatey. Um, so definitely something different would be, something definitely to
Definitely
try.
different. Well, I'll have to invite you. Maybe you could be like my one watcher. You can come hang out.
Yeah,
We'll do another interview like this, and we'll do it on.
yeah.
And we'll have.
I
But
would love to
definitely,
be.
people
I
could ask
love being
questions
on
though too.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting, cool experiment. Well,
Cool.
I got to know. You clearly own the repurposing game. Who are you? Who are you as a person? Can you take me back to like little Amber days? What was it like growing up? Where did you grow up? What was it like? Did you always know you're going to get into, entrepreneurship and content and all these things?
No, it wasn't anything like this. In fact, I mean, I grew up in Pakistan, which
Oh,
is, so not even I immigrated here um, only years later, when
how
I was
old were
about
you?
2021. So I come from a very, very, very different background. I grew up in a male dominated culture.
Sure.
Um,
How old were you before you or when you left Pakistan?
Oh, so basically, it I didn't. Now I'm based in England, London, but
Yeah.
I actually moved to Australia when I was 16.
Okay. Wow. So all the way up through 16 in Pakistan.
Oh, yes. So all my
Wow.
primary education was in
Wow.
Pakistan, where women only played housewives, childbearers, and cooks.
Jeez.
That's the kind of society I grew up
Yeah.
in. And that is what's expected of most women, that, they would do that. They'll get married and have children and cook for their husbands.
Jeez.
So I was kind of like a, rebel who stood out every time
Yeah.
I shared a dream or a plan as a child. I was met with replies like, what's the point? What's the point? At the end of the day, you're going to get married and you're going to be cooking for your husband, right? So now my
You
parents are
had some
lovely.
naysayers around you then. People that were just like,
Yeah, I guess, and it was a culture, and because my parents are lovely people, but they also felt like they were bound by cultural
oh yeah,
constraints.
don't want to be weird and stand out too much. I mean,
Exactly. I
yeah.
mean, it was weird enough for my father to agree to me leaving the country at age 16 as a girl. I
Yeah.
did not know of a single woman in my circle who had left country and gone on her own to
Wow.
another country to study for further education and stuff. Boys used to go all the time, right?
Wow.
But not girls. And in fact, I went to Australia, and then I stayed in the ANU University dorms, Australian
So you
National
went to
University. And
university in Australia? Was that the reason for going?
yeah, so I did college there. I did university.
College.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Where in
there. I was
Pakistan were you? Did you grow up?
in Karachi. My parents live in Karachi.
Oh wow. Let me pull up a map.
But funny story is that I was actually born in Australia. My parents used to live in Australia. Um,
Oh,
I was born in Sydney, Australia, but I was very little, like a couple of years old
yeah.
when they moved back.
So that meant you were already a citizen, or
Yes,
maybe?
yes, 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 yeah,
Wow. So that
yeah.
made it easier for you to get out and then go back there.
Exactly. So
So you
that
weren't
was
trying to get
kind
a
of like my
visa
way
from
out.
Pakistan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was my ticket to freedom.
That was. Oh, so
Yeah,
fortunate that you were born there.
yeah,
Not that you
yeah,
planned
yeah,
that, but that's fantastic.
yeah. And so I mean it, you could say my whole journey has been kind of like rebellious, sort of. I wanted to do things which were not expected of women in my culture. I
Mm-hmm.
always loved sports, which was like very odd. I wanted to pursue a career in sports, which didn't happen because I didn't have the right resources. They were there for boys, but there was
Interesting.
nothing for women to pursue careers in sports.
Right.
But I did still I participated in a lot of competitions. I participated in the national races, athletics, and I won many awards in that as well. But I wasn't able to pursue a full-time career in sports, which that's what I wanted as a young child.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, by the time I went to Australia, so I was too old to now pursue a career
I know.
um, in sports. You have
What would
you
you
have to
play?
start.
What do you play anything now?
I played all sorts of racket sports. I
Oh,
played, in Pakistan, cricket is very big, so I loved cricket as well.
interesting.
I would have happily pursued a career in cricket as well, or hockey. I loved hockey,
Really?
field
Field
hockey.
hockey. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's I love field hockey. But racket sports, badminton, I've been and table tennis.
Yep.
Even in Australia, I pursued table tennis and badminton just as a hobby thing, not as a career, but
Right.
played few competitions, but only because it fulfills me. It makes me so happy, playing sports and being involved with people who have similar interests, and it sort of helps
Yeah.
me do things that I want to do. So I still, even after having kids, I continue. For now, in the past few years, I haven't. I have few injuries from playing sports, knee and
Oh,
shoulder
sure.
injuries. But I still continued with racket sports.
Okay.
And I would still love to, every now and then as a hobby, kind of, go out and have a game.
Oh, no doubt. Man, okay, so that's wild. And then were you in Australia up until when you moved to the UK?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So my husband is from England, so I met him, and then he was living here, so I was like, I'll move here, and then I moved to England right after uni. And so I was very young. It all happened very young, and I had kids very young,
Sure.
um, but it was the whole entire journey was almost like it wasn't what was expected of a girl who comes from my uh, culture.
Sure.
That I was making decisions on my own. I was doing what I wanted to do, for the first time in my life.
Right.
Wear what I could wear, say what I could, what I wanted to say.
Absolutely.
So it's a roller coaster of a journey, but I don't regret it, because that's what I valued most in my life.
Yeah.
I wanted that freedom of speech, freedom
Yes.
of what I could say, what I could do. And my partner is very supportive. So and once we moved here, that whole entire different journey started. But my journey started in corporate. Actually, I was not in business.
Interesting. What did you like after university? What did you just? Oh, did you go into finance?
So yes. So
Wow.
and then I ended up working for a few years in HSBC in banking. And it was a great experience, but I think it was when I was still trying to figure out, what do I want to do? What do I want to be known for? And, very early on, I realized that finance is not the thing for me, but it was something that I needed at that time because we had a family, we had, one child, and we had a mortgage to pay. So, you have to make ends meet, and you do whatever you can to do it. But it wasn't until I was expecting my second child, and that I realized that, just like when I realized when I was 16 that it's time to change, and that change will only happen if I take the steps
Right.
towards making it happen. And that was, that's when the ball dropped, and I realized that I think this is it. It's time to quit this 9-to-5 corporate career, and
Sure.
and I took some time off because I had 2 young kids, to sort of make sense of life, make sense of life. Eventually it's been almost like 13 years since I started, different types of businesses. And it started off with, actually, I was selling boutique clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is like sort of just pre-internet. So, well, internet was there, but not like, not pre-eBay and Amazon. By that I meant online selling wasn't a big thing, just before eBay and Amazon. And but as when eBay and Amazon came, I jumped on it straight away. And that was my introduction to the online marketing world and online business world, right at the start. And because it was new at that time, it was pretty easy to sell, create a business and sell on those platforms. I mean, now they're totally different platforms, but at that time, I got on it early, and it was a great journey. You learn a lot of things. You learn sales, you learn marketing, you learn about entrepreneurship, you learn about business, you have your ups and downs, and then you will make mistakes, and then next time, okay, what to tweak and what to do better. And it just went on from there. Eventually, I went totally online, with consulting and providing professional services.
Wow.
But it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah, man. What a cool, like, it's so cool, like, that you, I don't say escaped, but like you got to freedom and you're able to flourish, and almost like a couple of times, because you could have been trapped in financial banking world, and you seem much more of a people person, and this content and creation, like, we can do jobs that don't fit us, but it's so much of a blessing to be able to find the job where you really are in that zone where you love what you do, so it sounds like you eventually, you're like, I don't need to be a banker and an analyst, a financial analyst for, and you took the time with the kids to figure out, what do you really want to do,
And the online world is just really just caught my eye. It just fascinated me, and it drew me more and more, the online marketing world. And hence I think a lot of projects I ended up doing was to do with online marketing, because it's just so fascinating. And plus, by having your own business and being almost mostly online, it gives you time to do other things that you want to do, be it spending time with family, or playing sports, have time to do other things that sort of fulfill me, and then come back to doing helping others make a big impact. So it kind of works.
Like the skydiving, like the adventure, which we're gonna have to get into. But
Absolutely.
before I do, I have a question to ask. It's a bit of a hypothetical question. I may have a time machine here in New Hampshire, and it's in the backyard covered with a tarp. Squirrels are in it now, but COVID's over. We clean that off. I'll let you use my time machine. It goes back to a certain period of time, though. It's not just any time of the day you want to go. It goes back to yourself a couple days after you graduated university, or college, either way. But you just sort of graduated. You're starting your career, and you get to see yourself. What kind of advice, what kind of things would you tell yourself if you saw yourself then?
I think I would say to my younger self, do not rush into things. Do not make assumptions about yourself. at this early on in your stage, experience what you want to experience. Don't let assumptions hinder those experiences. And that's what I would be telling myself, that it's I don't have to go at 100 miles an hour, right from the bat. It's okay to sort of stand still, look around, and slowly figure it out. Where is it that you really want to end up? I think I myself probably wasted many years figuring these things out. Probably because you lose direction and focus in life. And if you are surrounded by that's another advice I would give my younger self, is to surround yourself with supportive, kind people, so they can help you on this journey, because of course you don't know initially where you're going or where you want to end up. Well,
right,
a
or who
lot
you
of
are or any of that. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe being surrounded by such people would definitely help on this journey, which I do believe I lacked and I didn't have at that point in life.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's powerful words there. Even coming from someone who I know has gone on adventures, and you have lived your life, but even to say there's more to be seen and done,
For sure.
appreciate all those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my life's full of lessons.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, me too. Me too.
There's so many stories to share, but I think that's the advantage of, I do not look at my experience of growing up in Pakistan as a negative, because it taught me a lot of things.
Sure. Oh, sure.
And it opened my eyes up to a lot of things, the privilege in this world, and so it's very, I don't think I would have had that insight if I didn't live in that kind of environment, or I didn't see what I saw. It's there's a lot of poverty, a lot of people live below average income, and they do not have simple privileges like we do have, like I have here,
Right.
living here. Water, anytime I open the tap, there's free water. So just simple little things that that experience has made me be grateful for what I do have now and what we have achieved.
100%. Those kind of experiences, and I'm glad that's the way you framed it, because you could easily frame it as like a negative, but it seems like such a powerful positive when you've owned it that way. Probably a fraction of the experience, but when I was in Iraq for a little bit, different country, I know, but like similar area. But also one of the things I found was, I guess it's not really a similar area, but similar conditions to what you're describing. Maybe it's a little astute for a Marine to figure this thing out, but one of the things I noticed was the treatment of women. Like the better we respect and treat each other as like equals and empower each other, the better everything is, right? So, and it's, I don't know, this is counterintuitive. It's just the way it is. Like when everyone has value, and when everyone has value, you have the different kind of personalities that keep the crazies in check. It's like, no, we're not. It's like diversity of thought and of mind, and so I very well saw when women weren't treated well. It's like, cool. Look what happens. This is not very, very cool. This is not good at all. Versus it's great when everyone's equal. And the other thing I noticed too, to your point, was really bad places, or really places that don't have running water. I noticed sewers, like where I was at, there were no sewers. There was no underground sewage. It was in the street. It was like the gutter was literally the poop gutter. And it was like, wow, like we don't appreciate flushing toilets and running water. You've seen, but people need to kind of experience something of that where they go, oh, so this isn't standard issue for every human on the planet. It's like, no, actually, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we speak right now, the city that I come from, Karachi, it's currently flooded, and majority of parts are like,
really,
few feet deep in water, only because they do not have the drainage the right infrastructure in place. It's not like it cannot be resolved, but
Yeah.
it's because they've not got the right infrastructure in place. And every year in the monsoon season, when it rains a lot, which is usually the month of August, the city sort of drowns, and it's horrible for people.
It
And
is.
then they don't have electricity.
Wow.
There's so many other, issues that go with it. Their houses are destroyed. Food is destroyed. So,
Yeah, I'm
just
looking
like
at some
small little
photos.
things.
Wow. Like I didn't even realize that. But yeah, like to have the
Yeah.
water come up, you just don't have the ability to handle all the water. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people live in what do you call, in sort of slums,
Yeah,
so
yeah, like
they're
the
not even.
concrete buildings and
Yeah.
yeah.
And some of them are not even properly built. So I saw some videos of landslidings, because they're not properly built houses. They're just, just make do with whatever's there. It's horrible. And these are things which can be resolved. And hopefully, I have seen a lot of progress that's happened. I would
Mhm.
love to see a lot more. I know a lot of people who do give back now that they are more successful, or even that they were able to get out of there and do better for themselves and their families. They give back because they feel that obligation, that we
Mhm.
have to we do good for the people who are left behind, and hopefully help them find a way to make their future better as well. So it's not just about feeding them so they have food for tomorrow. It's about giving them the resources so they can make their future better for themselves or their families or their coming generation. So a lot is happening, and I do participate in a lot of those things as well, because it's very close to my heart. It's where I come from. And
Mhm.
I believe that it's my obligation now to give back for the opportunities that I have now in my life.
Yeah. I think that's the way, and
Yeah.
it's powerful that you're using that, you know, to inspire other people, but also
Mm.
as a strength.
As a
That's
strength. Yes.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So where did all this adventure fit in, and what's the deal with? So, how many jumps do you have? When we were talking earlier, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, a fellow skydiver." Tell
Yeah.
me, how,
I
when did you
haven't done
start? Go
any
ahead.
base jumping, which we were talking about last time,
You
but
haven't.
it's no
Somehow I
base
thought you
jumping.
had. Why did I think
No,
that?
no base jumping. And my husband will kill me. I would
Likewise.
love
Yeah.
to do it. Love to do it. Really love to do it. Maybe at some point when the kids are sort of, all out of the house.
Yeah. Totally.
But I don't know if my I will be in the right
So
state
only
physically
planes.
and
You've only jumped
mentally.
out of planes?
Yeah. So, and like bungee jumping and
Okay.
abseiling down tall buildings.
Oh,
I've
see, I
yeah.
mistook that for like you were jumping off of buildings, which is way dangerous, by the way. So
Yep.
all good.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I would love to do the base jumping of some cliff or a
Yeah.
tall high building, but it's something on the cards. Um, um, it's definitely I would love to
We get one
pursue it.
shot though. It's not like you get your reserve and you get one shot. Hopefully you packed it right. So
Yeah,
okay, but you have done regular skydiving.
yeah. I've done skydiving, the bungee jumpings, and
Just like a couple
abseiling.
jumps, or have you done like a bunch of them?
Just a handful.
Okay.
Um,
Do you remember how many?
but
Do you write them down?
4 or 5.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah,
more than one,
yeah,
right? Because like there's
yeah,
like
yeah,
the tourist does one, but then you do a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
more. You're like now you're really getting a sense for it, and that's
I
cool.
want to do them in different countries, so location matters a lot, right?
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so it's because it's all about the view, the experience, everything. So New Zealand is on the cards because I know my sister did it and she was like that, like that's the place to bungee jump, or
Oh
because
yeah.
it's just, yeah, so
I don't know
beautiful.
if I would bungee jump though. That kind of freaks me out.
They kind
The
of
falling feeling, I'll skydive
yeah,
all day, but the falling feeling,
yeah.
yeah.
It would be great for base jumping as well. New Zealand is like a perfect place for doing these adventurous stuff.
It seems like an
Um,
amazing place.
yeah, yeah. So yes, yeah, maybe. Ask me in a couple of years' time.
Okay. What about some mountaineering? Maybe do like K2, just north of Pakistan, Or
Oh,
they're
I
in
mean,
it.
that would be awesome. I don't think, I've got it in me to do that.
Yeah.
I stay away from icy cold places. I'm more of a tropical
I
weather
don't blame you.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in
So
that New England, we get cold and snow and stuff. And every year when it happens, it's like character building, but I'm always like, "Ah, I wish I was I'm like, I'm gonna move to the tropics and be like an old guy in the Virgin
yeah.
Islands or something.
There you go. Or even, like islands of Malaysia, Indonesia,
Oh yeah.
islands at Fiji, there, Australia.
Fiji.
There's some beautiful islands. So just
Fiji
retire
sounds
anywhere.
cool. You're right.
Fiji sounds cool. Yeah, I just recently watched this a program on Netflix called, I think it was called Adventure Race. Have you seen it?
Oh, I'm totally watching that. It's in Australia right now, the Eco Challenge.
Eco Challenge. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
They did it in
totally.
Fiji. Yeah,
Oh, they did it in Fiji? But this
yeah. The
one's
new
right now
season.
is in Australia. No, no, you're right.
Oh,
It is
they
in Fiji.
yeah, it was in Fiji.
You're
Bear
right.
Grylls,
It's
he's
in a little
hosting.
island. It's all over yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Amazing
was
series.
amazing, amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I would so love to do it. Especially when I saw, people so much older still doing it. There was a group of over 60s, who
Yes.
were obviously adventurous in their youth as well. But, they were still going for it. I was like, that's what I want to be like. When I'm 60 or 70, I want to keep doing these things.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, and it's on Amazon Prime for those people listening. Amazon Prime TV via your app. It's in there. It's a blast. The whole season. I haven't got through the whole season yet. I'm midway through, but there's like
All right.
something like 63,
Over 60 teams.
60 teams. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's certain windows, and if you don't go fast enough, they cut you off. And
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
couple of just fantastic, a lot of
Yeah.
interesting stories.
Interesting stories,
Older
interesting challenges.
people. Now, what about the guy where his dad has Alzheimer's? He's like an
Yeah.
adventure
Yeah.
racer, and it's his last race because he's got Alzheimer's. He's really having a hard
Amazing.
time, but he's racing with his son on the team.
Yeah.
Like,
How
what
cool of an
powerful.
experience is that?
Yeah,
I know.
powerful.
So powerful. Yeah.
And the guys
Dad's
in the
been
front,
always been adventure racing.
yeah, the guys in the front, like, we've been racing for 3 days straight with 3 hours of sleep. We could sleep, or we could get a head start on everybody else.
I know. They were almost non-humans. I was like, that you're not human.
Right. New Zealand, they're the crazy ones. New Zealand
Yeah,
and
yeah, they're the
Australia, and
crazy ones.
they're the front runners. Yeah.
Different.
Would you do that? Would you
Apparently
do
they
any?
won the last one as well.
Okay, well,
The
don't tell me who wins this one. I
no,
know
no,
they
I
won
would
the last one. Okay, yeah, no
yeah,
spoilers.
yeah. 14 years
um,
ago.
would
Yeah.
you do that? Would you do the eco challenge?
I would love to.
Yeah,
Although I know I would need to train for that, but
of course.
yes, it's something I would love to do. I was just talking to my sister the other day about it. She was like, "You're crazy," I was like, "No, but this is the kind of stuff that, it teaches you a lot of things. Plus, you get to meet people who have their own beautiful stories to share
Oh
of why
yeah,
they're doing this, you know." And I think it sort of sets a good example for kids as well.
does
You
does.
know so that they should also know that it just doesn't come on, life just doesn't happen and comes on a silver platter. So, you will be hit by challenges in life. It
Yeah,
will be up and down. It's not going to be a smooth ride, and we have to figure a way out through it.
yeah. Those
Mhm.
crazy times.
Yeah.
Sign me up if you make a team. Let me know if you need somebody. I'll join your team.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want. I will be there. Where can people connect with you? What kind of links? What kind of social
best
sites, websites?
best
Throw a bunch of
way.
stuff out at us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So that would probably be the best way to get
Okay.
to get in touch with me and watch my content there. I mostly post there. Of course, in coming months, we'll hopefully be doing lot more live sort of on other platforms. I still don't have access to live on LinkedIn. I don't know the story with that.
I
Do you have
know.
access to LinkedIn Live?
No, yeah, we'll talk after. I know some people that have been on the show that have that, and they gave
Yeah.
us some tips. You got to keep applying over and over again.
You get, oh, I see. So I've
Yeah,
only done it twice. Maybe I
right.
need to do it more often.
One person applied every month until LinkedIn finally gave in.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Okay, so
yeah,
that's the trick.
that's
Okay,
the
well,
trick.
thank you.
You got to like tweak it and make it. Also, I'm pretty sure they're looking at some kind of algorithm behind the scenes at your own
Yeah.
LinkedIn engagement.
Yes, yes,
So
yes, of
you need to
course.
be super engaged with people, and then like, oh, look at that number. It's very engaged. Cool. You can have it.
Yeah.
You could
I think
apply
you
for
need
your
to be
company as well as for your person too.
Oh, yes, that's right. I
Yeah.
just did it for my, myself, like person, not the
Yeah. You do
company.
both, all three every month, and just keep applying.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, thanks for the tips.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. Hey, when you get on there, let me know. I'm happy to join you.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have yet
That'd
to
be
do that.
awesome.
It sounds fun
Yeah.
though.
Because that way you don't have to like drive people to other platforms. Hey, catch me on Facebook
Catch
Live
me.
or on
Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram Live or something. You can just do it on LinkedIn.
Then
That'd
that'll
be
be
super.
another piece of content to repurpose.
Yeah. Yes,
Man.
absolutely.
Well, Amber, thank you so much for being on here. This has been a blast just to hang out with you and chat and learn. I've learned so much. It's been amazing.
It's been amazing for me too. I love this. I was really looking forward to this. I was like, I can't wait to get on
Yeah,
with Casey and just share stories. I
totally.
still haven't got your story in full, and you being a Marine and just now an marketer. Like,
I
how
know.
often does that happen?
I know. Not very often. I'm a little unique in that regard. But yeah, it's the challenge. I love the challenge throughout, which is why Eco Challenge sounded great. And the short story of the Marines is that everybody wanted me, all the branches wanted me except for the Marines. They're like, we're not going to give you any bonus. And actually we don't want you, which was fair because in college, I was like the theater guy drinking peppermint mochas, getting out of shape and doing theater, right? So it was like, yeah, I could see why. But that whole summer, I just cue the Rocky soundtrack. I just got really, really fit so that I could. And then they like, okay, yeah, okay, now we'll take you. Let's go. So it was like a challenge to do that.
Challenge. So
Um,
you love challenges.
I do, I do.
Uh-huh.
Reasonable challenges, I guess. Sometimes slightly unreasonable, but with with at least some kind of glimmer of chance of making it happen. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it seems like you have made it all happen.
I'm working on it. I got bigger challenges though, bigger things coming. So we'll see
Yeah,
what
bigger things.
happens.
Ooh,
Yeah.
exciting, exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Well, this is awesome. And for the people listening, if you learned something, and I know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes front and back over here, then share this with someone. LinkedIn's a great place for that. Tag Amber, tag myself, but also write what you learned on it and then share it with everybody else. And we'll hop on there, have a conversation, engage with you, and share this thing as well. So, man, Amber, thank you so much. Let's hang out again.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for having me, Casey.
Absolutely. And for those people listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.